Hello, I'm Travis Foley with the Oregon-California Trails Association, or OCTA. Today I'm here in Independence, Missouri, the headquarters of OCTA, and also the home of the National Frontier Trails Museum. We're about 4 blocks south of the beginning of the Oregon and California Trail. The museum is important to OCTA not only because it interprets the history of the American West, but because it houses our Merrill J. Mattis Library. Welcome inside the Merrill J. Mattis Library here inside the National Frontier Trails Museum. Mr. Mattis was the first superintendent of Scottsbluff National Monument from 1935 to 1945, and he later went on to have a career as a historian with the Park Service with stints in Omaha, San Francisco, and Denver. In the 1990s, he donated his collection to OCTA, which we house inside the museum here. Mr. Mattis is probably most famously known as the author of Platte River Road Narratives and the Great Platte River Road. Mattis was also one of the founders of OCTA in 1982. The collection inside the Mattis Library is a bit unique. It began with a donation for Mr. Mattis, so if you were to come to the library to do research and you were to pull a book off the shelf and open it up and see this plate that says Merrill J. Mattis Research Library inside, you'll know that it was one of Mattis's original donations. However, the museum has continued to collect books on its own over the years. For example, this book is one of theirs, and when you open it up, you'll see no such plate inside. The museum is also equipped with a very modern HVAC and alarm system. We try to keep our collections very safe and secure. We also use humidifiers in here to keep the relative humidity and temperature at a constant. Aside from the Mattis donation, OCTA has continued to receive other donations through the years, and those books have similar plates in front. For example, this copy of Roughing It by Mark Twain was donated by George Watkins, and you'll see the plate on the inside front cover. The Mattis collection also holds hundreds of diaries. They're all alphabetized in here, so for example, if you were to come in and want to do research and your immigrant name began with the letter DE, you would pull this box, and inside you would find numerous diaries. And so let's just pull out the first one here. It is the Diary and Letters of David DeWolf, 1849. And Mattis was good enough to type up all of the diaries he collected. Beginning in the 2010s, OCTA began the process of digitizing all of these diaries. We've now completed the diary portion, and they all reside at octa-journals.org. We're now in the process of digitizing all of Mattis's personal correspondence and research notes, which are housed in this part of the collection. Mattis corresponded regularly over the course of his 60-year career with the National Park Service. Sometimes he was asked to review other books. This box contains correspondence related to those functions. If you were to pull out this folder, you would see that he'd been asked to review a book by Bill Hill. Bill Hill is, of course, the committee chair of OCTA's Education Committee, and he's written numerous books, especially for young adults and teens and children about the trail. But if you were to come here and do the research, you would be able to read everything that Mr. Mattis had to say about Bill's book in its early stages. Mattis was also a prolific photographer, and he photographed all sections of the trail from Missouri to the West Coast over the course of his career. If you were to come here and do research, you would have access to all of his photos from up and down the trail. For example, this photo of Chimney Rock is from 1946. In this way, you can see how the rock has changed a lot over the last 75 or so years. Another thing that Mattis collected during the course of his career was maps. You cannot very well tell the story of trails without maps. So if you were to come here and do research, you would have access to all of Mattis's maps that he either created or collected. This, for example, is a copy of his map of the Great Platte River Road, or the trail across central Nebraska following the Platte River. We hope you've enjoyed your tour of the Merrill J. Mattis Library. Remember, there's also all the online resources at octa-journals.org and an index to all the journals at paper-trails.org. At the end of the video, there will be some contact information on how to get in touch with the library to make an appointment to come in and do research in person.